And welcome back to Football's Coming Home, your Euro 2020 vodcast, wherever the hell you're ever watching this. I'd like to welcome back my panel. Firstly, big welcome to Gaz. How you doing, my friend?
Hey guys, I'm very well. Nice to be here.
Ready to talk Euro 2020?
Absolutely. It's been a couple of days, desolate days without football, so very excited.
I know, lockdown without football is not good. Just a reminder of those 2-3 days without anything. That's what we've got. We've had a fantastic tournament. This is where you get a few up and down days because you don't get anything going on. Then you get lots going on, which is exactly what's happened today. I'd like to say welcome to the show for the very first time. Hiran.
Hi, Stuart. You okay?
Yeah, really good. Thanks. Thank you for joining us. I know for those who don't know, and probably no one does because he's firstly on the show this evening, Hiran is a massive Italian fan. So we're going to talk Italy very, very shortly. In fact, we're going to talk all of the round of 16. There you go. There's your 8 games which will be played over today, tomorrow, Monday and Tuesday. Some absolute crackers there. But it's been a really good tournament so far, hasn't it? We've had 36 matches so far of the 51 that were promised to us. And of course, they'll deliver. We're now at the round of 16. We've had 94 goals. Nearly 3 goals per match. That's really high as an average for a major tournament. So long may it continue. But we start with the first of the round of 16 games, the one that's being played in about 45 minutes' time. It's Wales and Denmark, live from Amsterdam. Wales and Denmark. Well, let's have a look at the head-to-head. The head-to-head shows that Wales have won 4 and Denmark have won 6. So Denmark arguably are the strongest side, or certainly the more favourable side going into this tie. The winner of this match goes on to play the winner of the runners-up from Group A. Yeah, we've seen some really good competition from both of these teams. Denmark, of course, struggled after losing Christian Eriksen in the way they did and really had a massive effect to how they were going forward. Wales, on the other hand, done pretty well in this tournament, did pretty well 4 years ago or so. Start with Hiran. Hiran, really interesting tie this. And I mean, I'd probably say Denmark must be the favourites going into this, even though they're without their main talisman in Christian Eriksen. Interestingly, Denmark are the most attacking side in this tournament. 62 attempts on goal. And we were just saying off camera, Højbjerg, the defensive midfielder of Tottenham now, or nearly said Southampton, has 3 assists in this tournament, the most of any other player. What's going on in the Danish camp?
You know what? I think the best way I can really describe it is the Christian Eriksen effect. It was really horrible to see what happened to Christian Eriksen in the first game. And initially, that had a very downing effect on the team. But since then, they really have started to pick themselves up. And in the last game, they produced a really phenomenal performance to actually drag themselves out of the group and into the last 16, which was incredible to see. Wales as well, I've got to admit, fantastic performances all around as well. And in particular, Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey, they have been really phenomenal for both of them. Stuart, I agree with you that Denmark does have a slight edge over Wales. But with Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey, you really can't tell. Anything could happen. I think it's going to be a great game.
I really agree with you there, actually. Interesting, Ampadu got sent off in the last game, won't be featuring for Wales. Gaz, how big of a miss will he be in this match?
Yeah, he's key player for Wales. He's going to be a big miss for them. I think Hiran's got it right there. Obviously, Ramsey and Bale are the real key guys, but obviously the superstars always need those solid players around them. Yep. And Ampadu's really given that kind of steel to the side. I think, he's still a young player. I think his red card was an example where he's a bit raw, dived in a bit there to obviously get that red. So it's a shame for him he's going to miss out today. But look, as Hiran said, this is going to be a great game. Denmark are the first team to get through the group at Euros after losing the first 2 games. And I think that speaks a lot of about their sort of determination, their spirit. And I think that's forged, as we've said, by the unfortunate incident with Eriksen. I think they're playing for him. I think that's had a big effect on that squad, almost galvanised them, brought them together. And I think they're the slight favourites today. Slight favourites. I think it's going to be a close game. But I think it's going to be Denmark got the edge.
And if you were a betting man, who would you go for as your winner from today's game?
Yeah, I think I'll go Denmark.
You go Denmark. And Hiran, who do you think will win?
I think Denmark will just edge it. I think that man for man, they've just got that slightly bit more quality than Wales.
Yeah, I'm going to go Denmark as well. Although I think you've got a couple of really key players in Wales in Aaron Ramsey and Gareth Bale. And Gareth Bale's been a little bit up and down in this tournament, hasn't he? He's missed a couple of sitters. He missed a penalty in a recent game too. This could be the game where he really fires. And if he fires on full cylinders, Wales could find themselves going through. Interestingly, the winner of this game goes on to play either the Netherlands or Czech Republic. Right, let's turn our attention to the second game, Italy-Austria. It takes place later on this evening at 8 p.m. live from Wembley. In the head-to-head, Italy have come out as victor 16 times, Austria 12 times, and they've drawn 8 times. Florenzi's out for Italy. Chiellini, I love Chiellini. What a player. He's doubtful for today's game with a thigh injury. Austria have only got one player out, Lazaro, with a thigh. And a couple of players, Alaba, probably the most noticeable on yellow cards and a possibility of missing the next game should he get another yellow. Let's go to Hiran. Italy have been, for me, unquestionably the best team of the tournament. They've been the best example of how to combine strong defending with creativity right from the back to the front. I just thought they've been phenomenal. They've worked so well together as a team. Austria I've also enjoyed, but for different reasons. How do you see this game going?
I do like a lot of the Austrian players, but I think in this particular occasion, I think Italy are just going to be far too strong for them. Like you said, since 2018, in 2018, Italy didn't make it into the World Cup. And Alessandro Costacurta, he did a root and branch review of the way Italy played in the whole Italian setup. He brought in Roberto Mancini, and they've completely changed the way they play. They play far more attacking football. And like you said, they've got quality right from the goalkeeper all the way to the front. And I think that's just going to be too much for Austria.
It could very well be. Although that said, Austria have got, for me, one of the standout attacking players of the tournament in Sabitzer. I loved watching this guy every time he stepped onto the football pitch. Chiellini's doubt, Gaz. Could that have a massive effect for Italy? For me, he's the stalwart in that Italian side.
Yeah, so he's the old warrior, isn't he? He's as you say, the stalwart. He marshals that back line. However, I think, as Hiran's probably itching to tell me, Italy have got such strength in depth across that squad, and I'm sure that they can draft in one of the reserve defenders to replace him. Hiran, who'd look to replace Chiellini? Who'd be the man?
I'd probably go with a Serbi at this moment in time. You probably remember seeing him in I think it was the second game. He didn't start against Wales. However, when he did come in, Italy barely missed Chiellini. And he filled in fantastically. And Florenzi, he's missing as well. But I'm trying to remember the name. Sorry, one moment. So I suspect, I'm just going through the Italian squad again. But they do have other people that can fill into that right back position. And my guess would be it's going to be Di Lorenzo. Di Lorenzo, when he has played, and he did play in the group stages as well, once again, he came in, did a fantastic job, and you barely miss Florenzi when he wasn't there. And this is the level of strength in depth that they do have. If there is one thing that Italy need to be wary of, it's going to be that. One thing that Italy need to be wary of is that they can get caught a little bit when they're trying to counter-attack. They like to play out from the back, and if they lose possession, then they do have that slight weakness there. But that is a very, very small chink in the armor, and I don't see Austria having the ability to really capitalize on that at this moment in time. Yeah,
if that's the only weakness, then I think Austria for a long afternoon tonight. Because my view is, you look at the history of this fixture. I know Stu gave the sort of the head-to-head record at the start, but. My understanding is that Austria haven't beaten Italy since 1960. I think that that this is the perfect fixture for Italy. You've had a fantastic group stage, let's double down now with a dominating performance tonight, the knockout round, and just really stick that flag in there to say, look, we're here and you've got to beat us. I think we've suggested that France haven't quite been what we'd expected them to be. I'd agree with Stuart that these guys now, the Italians, if they can produce a dominating performance tonight, they are the favourites.
I think they are. They've 5 victories in a row leading up to this point. Interestingly, with England, but for different reasons, Italy have the most clean sheets. When I think of the Italian team in this tournament, I think of a team that's both defensively solid, but also incredibly creative going forward, but as a team. And that can't be said of England right now. Maybe 1 or 2 magic moments from different individuals, but from the whole Italian team, goals are coming from everywhere. And that's exactly what you want to see from a team that is potentially a winner of this tournament. And I think Italy are. Interestingly, a couple of stats for you. Spinazzola is also the fastest player in this tournament. That surprised me because we've got some very fast players in this tournament. But statistically speaking, Spinazzola is the fastest player. Be interested to see if Italy can hold their clean sheet tonight, because Austria have got some interesting attacking players. We talked about Zavitsa and his ability to shoot from outside the box. He will take a shot on if he gets sight of that goal. Arnautovic is pretty strong in the air. He's a strong physical type striker. I think back to the group stage. I think he gives Italy a different problem for what they've experienced so far. So I think I wouldn't rule out Austria tonight. This could be one of those games that's a lot tighter than you might imagine. But either way, I think Italy might come out on top. I think we've all agreed Italy. I don't think there was any disagreement there. Let's move on to the next game. Oh, before we go off Italy, who are they playing? If they were to get through either... Who are they playing?
Belgium or Portugal?
Belgium or Portugal on Friday, the 2nd of July in Munich at 8 p.m. Right, back to the round of 16. Where are we going next? We are going off to the Netherlands and the Czech Republic. Netherlands and Czech Republic tomorrow at 5 p.m. from Budapest. The Netherlands have won 4 of their last 5 games. The Czech Republic, of course, their last outing was a defeat to England. The winners of this tie will play either Wales or Denmark on Saturday, the 3rd of July in Baku. And the Netherlands have been really strong. Before we talk about the Netherlands and Czech Republic, we'll say a very good afternoon to Cristiaan. Thank you for joining.
How you doing,
Chris?
You good?
Yeah, really good. Really good. Great to see you. Netherlands are top scorers in this tournament. They've scored 8 so far. And do I go back to the very start of the very first show, Gaz? I have this weird feeling we may have said that the Netherlands weren't sure where the goals were going to come from, but we'll forget that one quickly. Netherlands, Czech Republic. There's some interesting stats here. The Wijnaldum and Depay are in the top 10 goal scorers of this tournament, but then so is Schick for the Czech Republic. How do you see this playing out, Gaz?
Well, we just talked about Italy. I think we can put Holland a close second behind them in terms of the most impressive team so far. We saw all sides of the game. We saw that determination, that comeback against the Ukrainians. And we've seen real utter class since then and goal scoring, at will, basically. So I think we're going to see something similar tonight in this game or next week when it's played. I think Holland are going to beat Czech Republic. I wasn't impressed with them when England played them last week. And I wasn't that impressed when they beat Scotland either. I thought that was a fairly routine victory. But I think Holland are flying. They've got the momentum. And I think they'll turn the Czechs over. I think it could be 2 or 3-0.
And in terms of some of the players we've seen with the Netherlands, Cristiaan, who's impressed you the most from the Netherlands team this year?
Do you know what? I don't think I could pick. I think they've been, as a side, they've been really, really good. They look similar to what we said about Italy earlier on. They look like a good team. I think they've got goals across the pitch as well, which I think is massive. They're not particularly reliant on one player. They're creating chances from many different types of chances as well. So, I wouldn't really be able to give a standout. I've really enjoyed watching them, though. They've been a really, really good team to watch.
They have. Another interesting stat is De Vrij, the defender for the Netherlands. He's got the most balls recovered in this tournament. And that's really interesting when we talked about the defenders that Netherlands missed out coming into this tournament. You think of Virgil van Dijk, you think of De Ligt. We haven't seen those players really. We've seen a bit of De Ligt, but Van Dijk was touted to be a massive miss. And yet the Netherlands, they're winning games, they're conceding goals, but De Vrij has got the most balls recovered. If it weren't for him, maybe they'd be in trouble. Hiran, have you been impressed by the Dutch overall, and how do you see this tie going?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like you in the first game, I was not impressed by the Dutch, but since then they've come on really, really strongly. And what particularly has impressed me is their tactical intelligence when they do play. Basically, they've got a very strong midfield. They know that their main strength is their midfield. So they've been using that both in attack to create channels of play, whipping balls in so that players can take advantage of it. And also in defence, they've been really good at pressing the opposition midfield so the defence doesn't actually have to do a huge amount of work. With regards to their defence, Van Dijk is obviously going to be a big miss for any team. But De Ligt has come in, and since he has played, he's done fantastically well. And De Vrij, he's come back. He's come out of a Scudetto winning season with Inter. So he's on a high already, and he's just carried that straight into this tournament as well. And yeah, I do agree with Gareth that they are really up there and potential winners of the whole competition.
I think they're one of the underrated teams in this tournament left. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And just a word on Czech Republic. A couple of key players in there. Souček, we know about, plays for West Ham. Patrick Schick, second top scorer in this tournament. Could he cause the Netherlands any problems? Final word from you, Gaz.
I don't think so. I think he's a good player, and he's certainly caught the eye, especially with the goal he scored against Scotland. I think, as Hiran says, I think De Vrij and De Ligt are going to just be a bit too canny for him. I think they'll have him locked up. Can't see it.
Okay, there you go. The Netherlands and Czech Republic. The winner will play Wales or Denmark on Saturday the 3rd in Baku. The fourth game takes place tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. in Seville. Belgium take on Portugal, which is one of the glamour ties of this round. Belgium with 4 out of 5 victories so far, running up to this point. Portugal with a bit of an indifferent series of games late. They drew the last game with France. They lost the previous game to Germany quite convincingly. In terms of head-to-head, Belgium have 5, Portugal have 6, and there's 7 draws. The winner will go on to play Italy or Austria on Friday the 2nd. Yeah, this is an exciting one. Possibly the tie of the round. Maybe Germany, England is the other tie of the round. You could debate all you want, which is the bigger tie. But there is one player in this game that I think is just worth giving a mention to. What a player, Cristiano Ronaldo. 5 goals in this tournament, broken all records. Not only that, he's also had 6 shots on target. So 5 goals and 6 ain't bad, is it? Hiran, how good are both these teams? Is it such a shame that we're going to lose one of them this evening?
Yeah, I am so gutted that we're going to lose one of those teams so early on in the tournament. It is a potential final for the whole tournament. Both the quality is there. With regards to Cristiano Ronaldo, what can be said has been said about the man already. He is a phenomenon. The one thing that I would say though is when I was watching Portugal against Germany, and I'm sure Belgium will be looking at that very, very closely as well. What the Germans did was cut off all the channels to Ronaldo, and the Portuguese were struggling to get the ball to him. If Belgium can do the same again, it's going to be a very, very difficult game for Portugal. But either way, I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be amazing.
It will be a great tie tomorrow evening. Castagna for Belgium looks like he's out. Belgium are going to play De Bruyne and Witsel in midfield. I think that might be the difference maker. Gaz, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, like you guys, I can't wait for this one. It's definitely a proper heavyweight encounter, and I just can't wait to watch it. I think Hiran's right. If Portugal can't get the ball to Ronaldo, then where they're going to get the goals from, I think we've said that. I think Belgium all round are a better team. There's strength in pretty much every area. I love Lukaku at the moment. I think De Bruyne, what more can you say about him? I think it's going to be a fantastic game, but I think Belgium are going to win this one.
And you'd be right. But with all that said, all it takes is a Cristiano masterclass, and then Portugal are through. Christian, how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, it's a really tough one. I've got Portuguese heritage, so I want to see them go through. I really, really do. I'm a big fan. I'm a big Ronaldo fan. I'm not going to get into the debate between him and Messi, but I'm a massive fan. I think logic would suggest to me that Belgium would be favourites. I think that if you look at them as a side, I don't think Portugal can match it. I think they're not as cohesive. I think there's where you have Ronaldo. I think Lukaku is equally as effective for Belgium at the moment. Ronaldo's, if you look at his performance so far, I don't think he's been electric. I mean, a few penalties, and I know he's scoring goals, but for me, I see Belgium winning this one, and I do actually think it'll be fairly comfortable.
Oh, well, that'll be a turn up for the books.
Yeah, okay. My dad's side won't speak to me again for saying that.
I'd love Portugal to stay in this tournament. I love the way they play, but they have been a bit indifferent, and I think there'll be a lot of teams that will be looking at that Germany game and look at what they did against France and thinking there's ways to beat this Portugal side for sure. Okay, fourth game of the tournament, the round of 16, is Croatia versus Spain. Monday evening, 5 p.m. live from Copenhagen, Denmark. Croatia made it through just with that victory in the very last game of the last round. Of course, lost to England and drew one as well. Spain, two draws, one win on their way, and what a win it was, 5-0 in the last game. In terms of the heads-to-heads, though, very even. Croatia 3, Spain 4, 1 draw. I think there might be goals in this one. What do you think, Gaz? This has the ability to be possession football personified, doesn't it?
Is this Euro 2020s or the World Chess Championships? I think that's perhaps what we're going to see. I think both teams are sort of flattered to deceive a little bit. I think both teams, we expected a bit more from them really in the tournament. I think both of them waited till the final game to sort of show their true colours in the group stage. So both teams, I think, will be coming out of the group sort of thinking, I'm glad we're lucky to be here in a way. It could have gone either way. I think Spain are probably in shock after scoring 5 goals in a game because that was the other team that we said we didn't know where the goals were going to come from, and they managed to save them all to the last game. Interesting one. Modric, the goal he scored against Scotland, phenomenal goal. Shows his life in the old master yet. He'll know all the Spanish players as well from the domestic league he plays in. So I'm really excited. I think Spain are going to edge it because I think they're the younger side. When you look at the likes of Pedri for Spain, I think they're the ones that are going to step up. And who knows? We might even see Morata score a goal.
Well, the issue is that, isn't it? It's the fact that Spain, they dominate possession. They've got the highest average possession in the entire tournament, nearly 70% of possession in this tournament from Spain on average. But it counts for nothing when you can't score a goal. And that's
I think
the problem.
Wenger called it sterile domination, didn't he?
That's exactly. And that's the problem I have because as further as Spain go, they've got to be more. What's the word? They've got to take their chances in front of goal, and that's always been their problem of late. Hiran, how do they solve a problem like Morata?
Morata is a really tricky conundrum. I've seen the best of him in Italy, and I've seen the worst of him as well. When he's at his best, he's linking up play with the midfield, he's bringing other players in, and he's scoring a lot of goals. On the flip side, he's very much a confidence player, and if he doesn't have that confidence, you see him miss the worst sitters you can imagine. And at the moment, he does seem to be low on confidence. And earlier this week, he has come out with some of the difficulties that he and his family have faced. With Spain, I do think that they are a Jekyll and Hyde side. We have seen both sides of them, and it really does depend on which side turns up against Croatia, whether we see the best of them or the worst of them. If we see the worst, they're going to go out. I think Croatia will have got what it takes to beat them. On the flip side, if we see the best of them, it's going to be very, very difficult for Croatia.
But haven't Croatia got the same problem? They've lost a couple of key players going into Euro 2020 that we had at the World Cup 2 years ago, which made a difference in my opinion. And they lend very heavily on Perisic down that left-hand side to get them goals. But up front, for me, I don't think they have a proven goal scorer anymore. Gaz, in fact, let's go to Cristiaan. Cristiaan, how do you see this one going? Is this going to be a bit of a stomach? Could we potentially see the first penalty shootout here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, possibly. Neither team gets me out of my seat, if I'm honest. I think you hit the nail on the head with Spain. They haven't got a proven goal scorer. They haven't had one for a long time. If you look back over history, it's been a long while since they've had a top centre forward. I think it will be a boring game. I don't see other team progressing much further beyond that point as well. So it's not one I'm particularly excited for. I'd probably edge towards Spain. Looking back on form, they were good last time out. I think Croatia have been pretty flat for the most part so far. They didn't impress me when we played against them. They haven't really impressed me too much since. So I fancy Spain to progress. It just surprises me that they've not. I mean, to be fair, I didn't actually see the last game, but it surprises me that they've stuck with Morata. If they have, I mean, I'm assuming they have from the last conversation. Why? Forgive me if I absolutely murder his name, but Moreno, the
Villarreal
striker. Yeah. He was raved about. I remember obviously when Arsenal were playing against Villarreal recently, and he was raved about, and he looked good. He didn't get a lot of service, to be fair, but I don't know. Yeah, they're a dull side to watch at the moment. They've got no cutting edge, and like you said, sterile football. If they've got an elite centre forward or even a very good centre forward, then I may change my opinion. But yeah, I fancy Spain to go through, but I don't think either side will. Even if Croatia do, I don't think they'll progress particularly far.
And I think that's the problem. They've tried Moreno as well, but it's just equally, they just can't find the right balance up front. Well, there you go. That's Croatia, Spain. The winner will go on and play either France and Switzerland next Friday, and that's where we're going next. France and Switzerland. France and Switzerland play each other. France have 16 victories to Switzerland's 12, 10 draws in history. Coming into this game, France 2 draws, 3 victories. Switzerland won the last game with a loss and a draw in the tournament so far. Winners, we just said, play Croatia or Spain. France bother me somewhat. They're either really good or not so really good. And it's a very difficult one because I don't know what France we're going to get. We know what we're going to get from Switzerland. There's a couple of key players and another load of bang average players. With France, they've got to all be singing from the same hymn sheet. They've all got to be playing for each other, and then it just clicks and works. If they don't, it doesn't. It just doesn't work at all. Cristiaan, how do you see this game playing out?
Well, I fancy France. They've blown hot and cold, haven't they? But they've got a phenomenal squad, a phenomenal 11, and I think they'll have too much for Switzerland. I can't see Switzerland causing them too many problems. I don't think they're particularly resilient, Switzerland as a side, and I don't think they'll cause much threat going forward. Whereas France, make no mistake about it, they turn it on and they can blow any team away. And I think, again, like I said earlier, we were talking about, I forget what it was now, actually, forgive me. But yeah, I think France will be too strong. Even if it's not a great day for them, I still think they'll go through. I don't see, again, any problems. But, tournament football, anything can happen. But yeah, for me, it'll be France.
Interestingly, Xherdan Shaqiri is bang on form. 2 goals in the last game. Hiran, can he cause France any problems? He's this kind of player that likes to shoot from outside the box, create problems for teams.
If I'm honest, the way France have set themselves up with Kante, Pogba, and be it Rabiot, Tolisso, or whoever that comes into that position there, I think they will have the better of Shaqiri. So it's going to be a very, very tough night for Shaqiri when France do play against Switzerland. Going forward, though, this is where the big question is for me with France. They're picking Benzema at the moment, and I haven't been completely convinced by him, even though he has been scoring, even though he's scored a couple of goals. Yeah. For me, seems to occupy the same positions as Mbappe, and they seem to get in each other's way. And it feels like if they had a different type of striker playing with Mbappe, they'd get a lot more out of this team and the players than they are right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a surprise that Giroud's not starting, to be fair. His record for France has been sensational. Maybe that little fallout just before the tournament is, maybe Benzema. This is a top centre forward, but yeah, I think I don't think he hasn't impressed me. I was really expecting big things. Actually, I thought coming back into the side, but yeah, he's been quite poor. I would go with Giroud. I don't think they will though.
Same here.
I think Giroud has to play in every team in all time. I mean, he's just have you looked at the guy's stats? It's incredible. What he's won. He'll go down as the absolute living legend one day for the things he's done in football. Guys, final word. We're gonna get some.
Just a quick one on France. I think that the guys are right. I think Benzema. It's an interesting point you brought up there, is because they've brought Benzema back into this squad to great sort of fanfare. And as Deschamps made a bit of a rod for his own back in that he's almost got to play him because of that. Because you're so right. Giroud's just been brilliant for this side for the last sort of 2 or 3 years. He's got a good partnership with Mbappe. And yes, they had a little row, but the thing is, that's kind of what happens. They work so well together that, everything can be blown out of proportion. But Giroud he won the World Cup for him without scoring, but everybody praised the contributions he made to that side. And I wonder if Benzema, despite the great fanfare, is the reason why France just look a little bit out of sorts. You're never sure what you're getting. Are they a counter-attacking side? Are you kind of dominate possession? They seem caught between two sort of worlds, really, and maybe that's the key. Maybe we'll see a surprise start for Giroud in this game. That could be the difference.
Just to add to that, I mean, I'd still love to see Mbappe through the middle. I'd love to see him through the middle with Griezmann behind. If you remember a few years back, Griezmann was phenomenal for France in the just in the hole behind the striker. I'd love to see him and Griezmann, but then I think the issue is then who plays either side. They like the three, don't they? They like to have the three in there. So it doesn't really fit for a traditional 10 if you're playing a sort of a flat three across midfield. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll need to change the system if they're going to go all the way. Again, not sure that they will, but I think that I'd love to see Mbappe through the middle. He's just so electric. I mean, I think it was the Italy game. The Italy game, that sprint in behind, it was just ridiculous. And I'd love to see him get a little bit of space in behind and.
He's had a poor tournament, actually, I think, by his standards.
Yeah, or maybe expectations. Yeah.
But it's interesting when you think of the players coming to this tournament that you'd expect to do well. He'd be one of them, right? And it's been disappointing. Whereas on the other hand, Cristiano Ronaldo, everyone knew he would have a good tournament, and he's delivered. I mean, the guy's just. He's just everything, isn't he? He just knows what he's doing.
He is, but even still, again, I said earlier, I don't think he's been electric like he's. But I think maybe it's just an adaptation of his game. He's no longer the wing wizard that he once was. He's a number 9 now, and I think maybe he's slightly more conservative. Like he,
picks and chooses, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he's. I mean, his record speaks for itself, doesn't it?
It really does. We've got 2 more games, so I think what we're going to do, because we obviously want to leave with the standout game of the round of 16. So we'll do the England-Germany game last, I think. What we'll do now is we'll jump across to Sweden and Ukraine. This is a bit of an interesting one. These guys haven't really played each other much. They've only played each other 4 times in history. Sweden won once, Ukraine won twice, and they've drawn each other once. And neither team has particularly lit up this tournament, I think it's fair to say. This probably would be one of the games that most would say it's probably one they would quite comfortably miss. Interestingly, though, Forsberg is who's just an attacking midfielder. He's actually the 3rd top scorer in this tournament with 3 goals. He played rather well. If you had him in your fantasy league, I think you would have probably done pretty well with Emil Forsberg, and he did pretty well in the World Cup a few years back as well. I think what we'll do is we'll just have general feelings on this game. Gaz, how do you see this one going?
I think Sweden will win. It's not right at the top of my list in terms of games to watch in the round of 16. But one reason I probably would like to tune into it is just to see Isaac. I think he's been great. I love him as a player. I love his style. Yeah. He seems to be a sort of a new version of that sort of striker. So that's why I'll be tuning in. I think they'll win. And here we go. I think he'll score the winner.
Yeah, it's interesting, Isaac, actually, because I agree with you. I think he reminds me of a Giroud type in terms of his strength and ability to bring others in. But he's really quick, really, really fast. Yeah. And they were talking about a £70 million release clause in his contract. I mean, there'll be a lot of clubs, I think. I mean, most clubs will have known about him for years, but there'll be a lot of clubs, I think, looking at that now and going, he's definitely one for the future. Here, Aaron, who's impressed you from these two countries?
From the two countries, I've got to go with Sweden and Isaac and Forsberg. They have been fantastic for Sweden. I wasn't expecting a lot from them, and for me, they have actually over-delivered. Ukraine, I've been a little disappointed with. Coming into the tournament, I'd read that Shevchenko had put together some very interesting tactical nuances within the team. But they haven't really displayed that, other than the defence pushing it quite high and playing a very concentrated sort of midfield attack. But beyond that, I haven't really been too impressed with Ukraine. So I think Sweden. And I think with Sweden, they've got Kulusevski slowly coming back into the team as well. And I think he's going to be a big, big difference. If he does start against Ukraine, I think they're going to have too much for them.
I agree with you, actually. And just a point on Ukraine, I think they have been disappointing. I think they may be struggling a bit with the fact that they haven't got an out-and-out centre forward. They're really struggling, I think, for goals going forward. But also in the back, they've been disappointing. They've been shipping a lot of goals in this tournament. These are two teams which one of these teams will find their way into the quarterfinal and will play either England or Germany next. And if you're either England or Germany, we'll come to them in a minute, you'd be looking at this thinking there's a really good route here to at least the semi-finals. Cristiaan, how do you see this one going?
I think it's one of those games, if I'm honest, where you can get a bit of credit back with the misses. Just being completely honest, I think there's one of those ones where we can watch what you want to watch tonight. I think is where it's
bollocks. Watch it together.
It's not one that's massively exciting for me. I think genuinely the only reason I'd tune in is because I saw a dodgy transfer rumor that Arsenal were prepared to pay his release clause. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So that's probably the only reason I'm going to tune in. I can't see past Sweden. But again, I've said it a few times already. Neither side, I think, will cause problems for Germany or England. Whoever was to progress there, I think it's a really good route for Germany or England to actually progress. I mean, I know we're coming onto that, but yeah, it's not an exciting game for me. One that I'd be happy to not have to watch.
I'm going to go for a bit of an upset then. I'm going to go Ukraine in this tour, in this game. I think they've got the ability to score, but it'd probably be about 5-5 with minutes to go, and they'll nick the winner or something daft like that. Interestingly, Sweden don't ship a lot of goals in, but I realistically think Ukraine probably got enough just to squeeze by. Let's turn our attention to the final game: England-Germany, Tuesday, 5 p.m. at Wembley. By winning their group, England managed to stay in the UK for at least one more game. Then they're off to Rome if they were to beat or get past Germany. These guys, England and Germany, are actually equal in terms of head-to-heads. 13 wins for Germany, 13 wins for England. I'm not going to talk about the stat which suggests that Germany are better at Wembley than they are anywhere else, because that's actually true. Germany have better passing accuracy than any other team in this tournament, 89%. England actually have been quite weak with passing accuracy. Anyone who's watched the games will probably recognise that without question. But England don't ship goals. 3 clean sheets out of 3 games so far. It's a big one. Hiran, how do you see this going? Can England reach the quarterfinal, or will Germany just be too strong?
I'll be honest with you. With the exception of the game against Portugal, I have not been impressed with Germany at all. Against Portugal, they were fantastic, and Goossens had an amazing game. But besides that, they haven't really shown anything else. Kai Havertz has had a couple of good games as well. Looking at England. England, once again, they've been very, very, very safety first in their approach. But having said that, against the Czech Republic, and especially in the first half against the Czech Republic, we did see some green shoots coming through. And one thing that really impressed me was we've talked about Harry Kane and him coming too deep. Against Czech Republic, he was doing it again, but it was far more intelligent. He was coming deeper, but at the same time, we were seeing Grealish and we were seeing Sterling push forward and really occupy the defence. So that link-up play was happening, or we could see the long ball going forward, so that Sterling and Grealish could really take advantage of it. And I think with the German defence being a bit rocky as it is, I think England could actually get a result there and progress.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, actually, because I agree. I think Germany have been a bit patchy. I think their best three players are Goretzka, Gnabry up front, and Havertz this tournament, and they're all young players. They've all got great futures ahead of them. What we want is for them to have a bad game against England as English men. I think this one's going to be very tight. Everyone will say it's going to penalties because that's what we're programmed to say, but I'd like to think this is a 2-1 England victory. Christian, what do you think?
I think we'll be our own worst enemies. I think it's down to the manager. I think depending on what selection he goes with, I think he needs to be brave. If we turn up like we did in the first 20 minutes of game one, I think we'll lose. If he's brave and he picks a brave side, don't ask me what that would be. But I think he needs to be brave. And Germany are there for the taking. They haven't been particularly impressive up until last time out. And I fancy England to get a result. I'm more confident than I would have been previously. But yeah, I think it really comes down to the manager and what he chooses to go with. The lineup's key. I really think if he gets that right, I think that we've got a really, really good chance. If he gets it wrong, and then yeah, I think that Germany could probably be quite comfortable. So it's on a knife edge for me, and it depends on how we line up and the system we go with.
So that's really interesting. Let's talk lineups quickly then. So Southgate, we know, is quite a conservative coach. I don't think there's going to be any major shift from the pattern of play and the shape of the team that we've seen so far this tournament. I think it's pretty evident we're going to see Rice in midfield alongside Calvin Phillips. The big question is whether no, interesting. You don't agree, but interesting on that right hand side. What are we going to do? Has Saka played himself into a starting role? Gaz, come to you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we look at these little things that happen throughout tournaments and throughout seasons as well in domestic football. And sometimes conservative managers, if you like, are forced to make decisions by things outside of their hands. And I think that the whole thing with Mount and Foden Mount and Chilwell has made him think again. It's forced him to put Saka in there. It's forced him to bring Grealish in. And it's one of those things that, it's a beautiful scenario because, as Hiran says, first off against the Czechs, that was the best we've played. And I think he's got to keep the same lineup.
Yeah.
I think he's got to keep the same lineup. He's got to go with it because they are Grealish and Saka they're the two magic men. They're the guys who can unlock this. They're the unpredictable ones. I think, as Chris said, I think the first opponent we've got on Tuesday is ourselves because we love this mental anguish when we're playing against Germany. The whole history of our national football teams based on like how we've dealt with this in the past. And I just think that the Germans love that. They revel in it because they see us as the antidote to their problems. They're often having a bad tournament and they think, great, a game against England, that's just what we need, because if there's someone who's more kind of mentally ruined than us, it's them. So we've got to put that to rest. We've got to get past it. And to be fair, that it's not the players who have that mentality. It's the media, it's the narrative, it's the whole circus around it building up. Half these guys weren't even born last time we played Germany in '96. It doesn't affect them. It's not something that that plays on their minds, but the constant saturation of the media puts that into their heads. And we've got to get over that before we can win this game, because we can win this game. Man to man, team to team, we have a team that can compete and beat this German team.
Well said. Well said. Looking at the time, Wales are about to kick off. Let's have a quick look at the route to the final. And I think what we'll do is we'll just ask the panel, based on how they see this shaping out, who do they think can win this tournament, or who do they think is most likely to win this tournament? Let's go to Hiran first.
Yeah, well, I was looking at this earlier this week. I'm going to put my hat in. I'm going to put my name in Italy's hat. It's going to be a tricky route because they do end up facing either Belgium, Portugal, potentially France or Spain, depending if the good Spain turns up. So it's not going to be easy for them, but they've got the quality there. And those difficult games could actually help them in the final itself, depending on who they face. Yeah,
it's interesting. You try to avoid, and there was a lot of talk of England maybe finishing second in their group or third in their group. I hate that idea, because whilst it's nice and fanciful, the realities are you've got to play hard teams to win a tournament.
You've got to beat the best to beat the best.
Exactly. So avoid them.
Early. Yeah.
Eventually, you're going out if that's your attitude. That's a loser's attitude, loser's mentality. Cristiaan, same question to you.
Really difficult. I'm torn between Belgium and Italy. I can't decide between the two of them. I'd have an outside bet on England. I think that if we can get past Germany, maybe that magic might happen for us. But yeah, I was strong France early on. On their day, I think that they would have to be favourites if they would turn up. But I do think there's an imbalance in their side. The more I think about it, and the more I think about it actually just during this conversation, like, there is an imbalance there. It's not right. It looks like almost sometimes square pegs, round holes, one of those, and just trying to accommodate too much. So I'm going to lean with Italy or Belgium. At a push, I'd say Belgium, because I still think they've got a few more gears to go through, whereas I think Italy are at have been at maximum level. So yeah, I'll lean towards Belgium. But do you know what? It's a really I'm glad we're on the side we're on. It's a really tough side, that side. I think there's you could pick from any of them potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And final question, same to you, Gaz. From that list, who do you think can win and why?
So, we've spoke about it a lot. I think France can still find themselves and go all the way in this tournament. But I think for now, Italy have overtaken them in terms of my own favourite personally. And I think they're the two sides to watch. I think if we can get past Germany, we can get to the final. But if you ask me who's going to win it outright today, I'm going to change my mind from pre-tournament. I'm going to say Italy. And Theo, who do you think is going to win it?
England.
Oh, go on.
Come on! There you have it. I'm going to go Italy. I think Italy have been the most complete tournament team so far, but we're about to find out. This is the business end, ladies and gentlemen. Cristiaan, yes.
I was just going to say just a little bit more if we've got a minute, just on England. Predicted lineups. I know that you plan to cover that, but how do you think we'll line up?
Oh, interesting. I think Southgate's quite conservative. I think we'll line up as we did against Scotland. I think there'd be any changes. I think Saka will be dropped, and I think he'll go Foden on the right. I think he'll. Can he play Mount back? Will Mount be allowed to play by then? I don't know. If he can, he will, and it'll be as close to the first two teams as possible.
Do you know? I can't stress how important I think someone like Grealish is for this particular game. I think that. When you consider that it's a long game, the potential for extra time, he wins so many free kicks, so many set pieces, and it could be one of those games that's won on a set piece. For me, yeah, Grealish has to start. I think Saka was brilliant. I wouldn't be brokenhearted if he wasn't starting, because I really do like Foden as well. For me, the key is Grealish. Does he go with Grealish or Foden? I fancy Henderson to start as well, actually. I think Henderson will start. I think that bringing him on in the second half the other day, I actually thought I'm not a massive Henderson fan, but I actually thought he improved us, which maybe is slightly controversial. I don't know, but I think he's experienced, and I think we'll need that. I think we'll need that Tuesday, because Germany, they've been there, they've done it. I know they've got some young players coming through, but they, as a nation, they've been there and they've done it, and they know how to get through tournaments. So
we talked about Portugal, and a lot of teams will be watching how they were demolished by Germany and the gaps in that team. I think there'll be a lot of teams that will look at how England played against Scotland and look at that central midfield of Rice and Calvin Phillips and realise they're two quite inexperienced players at this level. Yeah. And the moment you get a stronger, more physical, more aggressive midfield, they struggle.
And Germany have that.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a beast.
But I still come back to, and I give Heron the floor. Will Southgate make a major change here, or is he going to go with what he knows and what he feels is right?
I think Southgate will have two plans. He'll start off with a similar team that he started off with against the Czech Republic, but then he's going to have a plan A. If England are winning, then he'll go more conservative, try and shore up the defence, and carry on. However, if England are losing, I can potentially see someone like Sancho and the Phil Fodens really coming on and really pushing hard. And this is where, I mean, one of the big criticisms for Southgate has been that he hasn't played Sancho enough. But I think he's put that as a plan B when England are losing. And that's where I think we're going to start seeing him more and more in the knockout stages. So I think there's a plan there. But I think he'll start off with a relative conservative. Depending on how the game goes, then he'll become more attacking.
Well, you just touching on Sancho, you'd argue there that, I mean, we're playing Germany. The majority of the German side, in fact, I was going to say they play in the Bundesliga. I don't actually think they do if you go through player by player. But throws that point right out the window. Back up. But, I think you're right here. And anyway, I think we will go with. Similar to, but I fancy Henderson to start. I think that will be the one. I hope he starts Grealish and Saka probably, but I think Henderson will start. Other than that, it'll be the same as before.
I think he will go Maguire though instead of Mings, and I have to say I think that's harsh on Mings because I think Mings has been outstanding and had him in my dream team, in my fantasy team, and he's been absolutely rock solid. Great player, by the way, and we all know. This just so I can get a bit of hate at the end of this show. We all know Villa are a small club, so I'm surprised no team's got in for Mings.
On that note,
on that note, I'm going to be blocked by everyone on Twitter. Gaz, final point from you.
Final point from me. I think just a quick one. I was impressed by Maguire against the Czechs. I liked the way he's bringing the ball out of defence. Played a couple of nice through balls, so I'm okay with him replacing Mings. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the game. Nervous, but I think we've got enough about us. I don't think Southgate's going to change anything from the off, but I long for him to be a bit more proactive later in the game if things aren't going our way, because I don't feel he did that against Croatia in that World Cup semi-final. And I think that's what he's got to learn, and this is where we're going to find out if he's learned or not.
Yeah, quite right. And you know what? You've got two tournament managers facing each other. Very experienced Germany manager. He's won the World Cup. He's won tournaments. And Southgate has done quite a lot at a relatively inexperienced level, and he's still learning the game. But he is also classified as a tournament manager. So it's going to be a very interesting lineup. And let's be honest, Southgate owes the Germans one, doesn't he? Make sure you join us on Wednesday evening. We're going to give our recap of the 8 games. You can find us on social, across Facebook, on Twitter, and also if you haven't already, make sure you click the like and subscribe button and leave us a nice comment on YouTube. Huge thank you for joining us to Hiran. Good to see you.
No, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
It's our pleasure. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks, Christian.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having us.
And thank you, Gaz.
Thanks, guys. As you can see, I'm a bit busy here now, so I'm going to go.
We're going to go and watch Wales.
Yeah.
We will see you very soon. Bye-bye for now.
Take care. Bye.